Saudi Arabia has halted the provision of oil on loan for Pakistan after the Imran Khan government threatened to split the Organization of Islamic Countries, the OIC, over the issue of Kashmir. Hit by severe economic crisis, Pakistan borrowed $6.2 billion dollars from Saudi Arabia in 2018. The loan package included a provision under which Saudi Arabia granted 3.2 billion dollars worth of oil to Pakistan a year on deferred payments. Pakistan media on Saturday said that the provision meant for Islamabad expired 2 months ago and has not been renewed by Riyadh. Instead, Islamabad has prematurely returned $1 billion dollars of the Saudi loan 4 months ahead of the repayment period. Recently, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, during a talk show on a news channel, had threatened that if the OIC, headed by Saudi Arabia, did not convene a foreign ministers' meeting on Kashmir, Prime Minister Imran Khan would hold it on his own with his allies amongst the Islamic countries. The OIC, the biggest bloc of Islamic countries in the world, has repeatedly declined Islamabad's request to hold a meeting on Kashmir, a region which Pakistan army attempted to invade 4 times in the last 7 decades, and where it has been waging a proxy war against India for the last 3 decades. We'll debate about this with our guest. Joining me on the broadcast is Major General Dr. G.G. Dwivedi, Global and Strategic Affairs expert, Dr. Vail Awad, Senior Foreign Affairs journalist, also joins us on the program, Sumit Peer, political analyst, and Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian, also with us on this particular chat. General Dwivedi, let me start by asking you a very simple question. Perhaps this is a question that the Pakistani government should also ask itself. Just because China backs you, can you afford to antagonize Saudi Arabia?
Well, Sumit, let me first start with the little background as to how Pakistan positioned itself in Middle East, especially in the Gulf countries. Because let's go back point in time, you would see that Pakistan and Saudi Arabia had traditionally a very sound relationship right from the early 50s, and Pakistan is actually a security provider to Saudi Arabia. And their relationship actually are multifaceted, not only from the security point of view, from the religious point of view, and also from the economic point of view, because Pakistan actually has been banking upon very heavily on Saudi Arabia to bail it out. Now let's look at the China factor. China has used Pakistan as one of the very important frontline state to make inroads into Middle East, and in fact, Pakistan has always acted as one of the interlocutors for China into Middle East, Gulf, as also into Afghanistan. Now, Pakistan has always been playing one card on the other because its first identity is an Islamic state, and its second identity is actually a ally of China, and also serves Chinese interest in this region. So it has to keep doing the balancing act. And now the other factors are Turkey, because Pakistan has good close relation with Turkey as well, and now they are trying to balance out between Saudi Arabia and Turkey, try to get the best of the both. And the current issue is more to do with Turkey and Pakistan cozy relationship that is developing, which is not to the liking of Saudi Arabia. So in nutshell, what I would say, that Pakistan is trying to keep the candle burning at many ends, whether it's China, Turkey, or Saudi Arabia, and therefore its balancing act is going to be a very troublesome and also at times embarrassing and counter to the interest of the other players.
Dr. Awad, what do you make of this ostracization that Saudi Arabia is indulging in towards Pakistan? Obviously, this also shows a new face of Pakistan. Earlier on, they would not even dare to go against Saudi Arabia. They would not even say a word or a syllable against them at any platform. And we also mentioned, I did speak of it in my opening monologue, that how the foreign minister, Mr. Qureshi, has gone on a national channel and said that the Kashmir issue has to be addressed by these 57 nation community. Do you think that in this kind of a duress, Saudi Arabia is perhaps going to try and detach Pakistan or push away Pakistan even more? Because they also have a problem with Pakistan gaining a lot of proximity with Turkey, which has its own expansionist agendas.
Well, I think, as General was saying, yes, we do have the relation between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have been strong throughout the years, ever since independent of Saudi Arabia, and also because there was always a battalion of the army of Pakistan supporting the custodian, the Saudi monarchy. So they have been always there, and the fact of the matter is that we have to see it from two angles. Saudi Arabia for the last 100 years have been supportive of Islamization and spreading of Wahhabism all over the world. And Pakistan was one of the recipients of the Saudis' doctrine. That's why Pakistan is facing lots of internal trouble because of the extremism and hardcore terrorists, which have been being a hub center for Pakistan for years to come. And but the problem here is lying that the Saudi Arabia currently, the Al Saud family is changing its policy from being a hardcore Islamist into little modern and changing the faces of the snake of the policy as they have been trying to do under Mohammed bin Salman. But the Pakistani flamboyant Imran Khan was a very interesting gentleman throughout his life. When we became the Prime Minister of Pakistan, he is trying to be more toward the Islamist group in his country. And that's a total contradiction between the two states. Therefore, Pakistan of recently have changed its policy toward Saudi Arabia, toward internal intervention in the Arab affairs, interfighting, where Pakistan tried to keep an equidistance between the Saudi intention, the Turkish, and also the away from the policy toward confrontation and involving, especially in Iran. If you take it in Yemen or in Syria, Pakistan have tried to take a balance act, but it was too little, too late, because Pakistan depended on in Saudi Arabia, UAE, China, and United States of America of its own survival. Therefore, Pakistan changes is not because of Saudi doctrine; it is because of the United States putting pressure on Saudi Arabia, which also made it to change its policy to make hard, creating more austerity measures for Saudi Arabia and hardship for the Pakistanis to in fact involve more in their come down to what the Saudi dictate they want.
Right, the Pakistan could not even in effect, stop the OIC from inviting Sushma Swaraj as one of their important guests for the convention. How do they expect these 57 countries, to leave what they're doing and focus on Kashmir, which is India's internal matter?
Well, the thing is, you see, Pakistan keeps forgetting its own position. I mean, its own position among Islamic countries, frankly, does not matter much. But then at the same time, what it has been trying to do is it has been trying to, basically join hands with Turkey, and also it had tried with Malaysia, and also the Qatar has joined this bloc. It has been trying to form an anti-Saudi bloc. And this is pretty outrageous as far as Saudi Arabia is concerned, primarily because, Pakistan lives on handouts. And one of the major part of the handout is coming from Saudi Arabia. It's a classic case of, a beggar cannot be a chooser, and that is what Pakistan is. And the thing is, you see, but it forgets that the thing is that, you see, India, when it comes to the economic might of India, Pakistan cannot even stand anywhere near it in terms of there's no parity. But the very fact that the OIC is coming together against Pakistan, most of the countries, except for a few, even UAE also has been snubbing Pakistan whenever it has been trying to raise the Kashmir issue in OIC platforms, and especially criticize India. And if I remember correctly, I think Maldives also said that you cannot go, and the Maldives is also part of the OIC, and they also, I think a few months back this happened, they said that no, you cannot criticize India. The OIC cannot have a resolution against India. So yes, Pakistan's frustration has been building up. And so, frankly, it is after all a country where it doesn't even have an airline or an aircraft to take its prime minister to New York. It has to borrow a plane from Saudi Arabia. And that country is trying to tell Saudi Arabia that, listen, we have the capacity to break the OIC. How much do you think, Saudi Arabia will tolerate?
Sumit, Pakistan did try something similar in the past as well, then when they wanted to, in fact, bring together a confluence of Malaysia and Turkey together. And Saudi Arabia at that point in time, too, very vociferously expressed, they put their foot down, you cannot go on and do this. And that's the reason Imran Khan even missed that particular meeting.
I think, Vineet, thanks for having me on the show. There are a couple of points. When you look at OIC, the first point is the founder father of OIC, or the brainchild, whose brainchild OIC was Bhutto. Bhutto went to the Muslim world and said, why don't you get together 57 countries or Islamic countries and use oil as your economic power or your economic bloc to negotiate with the world. So the brainchild came from Bhutto. But when you look at OIC, Vineet, there are three visible factions: Shia faction, Sunni faction, and there is Turkey faction. There are three visible factions which were underplaying each other. Now, what happens is now comes a very important money bag. The money bag comes from China. You have to see everything in the perspective of China, because Iran does not like Saudis. Saudis do not like Iranis. Shia Sunni divide. Now comes the Khalifa, who wants to be the Khalifa of the Muslim world, is Erdogan. He tried to get Pakistan, Malaysia, and Turkey together to form another bloc and get Iran into it. Now, Pakistan incidentally are beggars and no choosers, what Joyita ji rightly said. And we need the point here is that, this was a kind of a credit line which you rightly said extended to Pakistan so that Pakistan can survive, thrive. When 1 million was called off by Saudis, they did not have that money. They went begging to China and gave them 1 billion. Problem is that Pakistan is a liability. It's an expensive, perennial, useless liability for anybody to handle. You need to have a lot of money to have a liability like Pakistan on your shoulder. Now, what happened? We need to see a very, very important development happened recently. First of all, US, the biggest importer of oil, is now an exporter of oil. Number two buyer of the oil in the world is China. Now, China recently, we debated on your show, Vineet, they have done a $500 billion deal with Iran, out of which $268 billion is they're going to buy oil from Iran. So, US is out, Iran is out, sorry, China is out. The next and the biggest buyer of oil in the world is India. And so what have these got? So there are two clear divides. So one is Turkey, Pakistan, Iran, and China, with China buying oil from Iran and helping them out. Second is UAE, Saudi Arabia, India, and American bloc. So it's an American, non-American bloc, and the fissure or the divide has been orchestrated by China, and Pakistan has no option. Because you are a person with a begging bowl. Whoever gives you money, to usko salam karoge. Saudi Arabia aapko paneer, you will say salam to them. Now Iran gives you, China gives you. Instantly, they're also learning Mandarin. I don't know what you say to salam in Mandarin. So maybe Imran Khan has also mastered that art. But the fact of the life is that Pakistan is a perennial, expensive, useless liability for anybody, and they need support all along. The people who do not have $8 billion as their foreign exchange reserve, do you still call it a country? Except terrorism, export of terrorism, what else is left in Pakistan? And this Imran Khan's dream of being the Muslim leader, getting the Muslims together, and the only Islamic country with nuclear weapons and all is shattered, because today, if you look at the economy of careful, you can have a separate debate on the economy of Saudi Arabia, UAE and all. They need a market like India to survive. When your 60% of GDP is running around oil exports, the top two buyers are off the list. We are the number three. So they have to align to India's needs. Today we need, either you can do your religious propaganda and be an Islamist, or you can do business. Because India is a substantial power. If you have to do business, take the word K. I don't want to use the full word. The K word does not exist. It's a done and dusted issue. It's our internal issue. We'll handle it, we are handling it, and we will do it. The only part of Kashmir, slightly diverting, is the POK, which we have to take back from Pakistan. Except that, there is nothing, nobody has to do with Kashmir. It is our business, sir. Please get out of it. Don't even mention the word K. It's only going to be counterproductive. It might cost you billions of dollars in revenue and profits. That has to be a very clear and subtle message go out. You can have your alliance to do something else, but do not get in the word K. It's very, very, very expensive for them to get in.
Absolutely. And General Dwivedi, do you think that whether this plan of Pakistan works out or not, they will still end up spreading a lot of misinformation about Kashmir, and they will still end up doing a lot of propaganda around Kashmir, which India must counter?
Absolutely, Vineet, because Kashmir is one of the poster which Pakistan plays to the Muslim world and tries to garner support on this particular issue. But also let me tell you that large number of countries, for them Kashmir is a dead horse. They are not very interested in this issue, and they have been changed in the perception of some of the countries like Saudi Arabia outreach to India, and Saudi Arabia does not want this issue to be internationalized, and they want it to be actually settled within the two countries. Now, having said that, Pakistan will not actually change its ways because it has one point agenda, and that agenda is to take on India, to weaken India, break India through all possible means, through proxy war, through international support. And there are certain Islamic countries which still are buying the Kashmir issue. But I want to bring out two very important facets. First and foremost, you said how India needs to counter. I think we need to be very proactive on this Kashmir issue because there is still a lot of misgiving about the Kashmir issue and how Pakistan is treating its own, POK and Gilgit-Baltistan area, how they are trying to actually change the demographic balance, how they are trying to change the whole architecture of POK, holding elections there. Now, this all issue has to be brought out. How Chinese have been actually invited into POK and Gilgit-Baltistan area, but through new projects, new dam building activities, through CPEC, they are in fact trying to change the whole architecture of this region. And second very important point is we got to be very hard on Pakistan because Pakistan only understands the language of force. Therefore, this force must be brought on Pakistan on international arena as also directly without dealing both political and military fashion because let me tell you, Pakistan is a shameless nation. It will resort to every means to damage India and it has never changed the ways. It will never do. It is because it's a nation which has no self-respect, which moves with the begging ball, and whoever gives arms to it, it becomes their client state.
Absolutely. And Dr. Awad, the plank that Pakistan has been using, being a nuclear state, how long are, Islamic countries going to buy it? They might have nuclear weapons, but they definitely don't have the sustainability to carry on this kind of an agenda through their nuclear weaponry for a very long time. Because on one hand, they want to please China, but on the other hand, they want to talk against other Islamic countries.
Well, let's make it very clearly here. Actually, the situation in Pakistan and Saudi Arabia is part of the whole actions of the Islamic world, where the OIC was created not because of Pakistan. It was created because Saudi Arabia wanted to lead the Islamic world into its own dictation and its own Islamic way of living. Therefore, they have been taking these issues on a political platform. It has no binding any of the resolution which has been taken in OIC at all. It was simply to gain the sympathy of the Islamic wave and creating some kind of tension. And Pakistan was actually cashing on this for long years. And actually, I give the credit to the Indian foreign policy as well. We must give the credit to the Indian foreign policy of the recent years. We have seen Indian foreign policy have done a great effect on the relation of the Saudi Arabia and the Gulf state with India, actually. And the Prime Minister have made, I think, 3 visits to Saudi Arabia. It's a clear indication that there are tendency toward the Arab country to move toward India more than Pakistan. And Pakistan, unfortunately, ever since its existence, have been used by different nations for their own agenda. Therefore, Pakistan cooked the poison and now they are testing their own poison. And that is where the harm lies. Actually, Pakistan trying to stand on its own feet, but it's too little too late. I come back to this. So Pakistan deterrence nuclear power is nothing to do with the Islamists. It's nothing to do with Islam. It's not that because it's an Islamic bomb which they are trying to sell Saudi Arabia. For years, they have been trying to get the technology which they have no ABC of how to fly even an Atari or to play a game, but because they thought that this Pakistani will give them. But Saudi Arabia have been keen on seeing that the destruction of Pakistan within Pakistan, and they have succeeded even if there is no military government, shadow government, if even there is no civilian government in Pakistan, they have enough people who follow the Takfiri jihadist group, which they can cause sabotage to all the neighbors. So therefore, I think what we need to be addressing, not only the issue of Pakistan, you must also be cautious of the issue of closeness with Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia can do the camel culture. And the camel culture is very simple. You have a camel for 30 years, which you are also feeding and giving everything. The moment you turn your back, he bites you. So if that is the policy, one has to be careful in judging and addressing all the issues with all these countries. And I think what we need here to see is that extremisms and they should not be taking advantage of terrorism of flaring up back into the South Asian affairs. And I think India has been very active on this. India has been doing very well with the Arab countries, and we must see also India address internal issue within India and don't give a chance to any country to take full advantage of India emerging. For the last, since the 90s, we have seen changing in the policy of the Gulf toward India, and India also emerging as a power in the international affairs. So therefore, I think this balancing act of India has to continue with the current government. That's my take on this.
Right, absolutely. And that was well articulated, Dr. Abad. And Joyita, Pakistan is going to continue knocking on the doors of every possible international organization. They're not going to stop as long as they have their way, and as long as the deep state and the ISI and the army are in charge, they will continue to follow this pathological way of conducting foreign relations, especially with India. What must we do? What should India do?
Well, I think what we need to do, you see, when it comes to its effect and influence in terms of the policy matters, Pakistan has very limited influence. But yes, Pakistan has a huge influence in terms of, particularly when we see the Western media and in media in general, for that matter, even in the Gulf. And you see, they generally tend to take a very pro-Pakistan line. And also, it's also because a whole lot of writing is happening from our country, within our country as well, which kind of gives some sort of a heft to the belief that India is turning into a radical Hindu country. So I think this kind of an image, first of all, needs to be dispelled. Our foreign policy establishment, while doing a good job at ensuring that Pakistan is not able to influence policy, it is not doing much when it comes to the perception building is not happening, and that is one area that we really need to work hard on. Be it the Western media, be it the media, I think our government needs to be more open. It has to take its case to different to thought leaders, to intellectuals and all, because unless and until we are losing that battle, we are losing. And that battle, Pakistan is winning. When it comes to propaganda, Pakistan is winning that battle. So I think that is one area we really need to do something.
Right, Sumit, like Joyita said, that Pakistan is perhaps winning the propaganda battle. But what do you think is Pakistan's main agenda over here, or main, in fact, grouse? Is it Kashmir not being taken seriously by the OIC, or is it that India has made, a proximity with Saudi Arabia and UAE that really irks Pakistan?
I think there are a couple of factors which irks Pakistan, and rightfully so. First is now China wants to make a new camp, wherein, because you see, if you look at Chinese economy, they need two things: they need dollars, they need markets, and they need oil. China doesn't have a lot of oil. So Iran can come in and exactly fit in the block and give them the oil they need. So Pakistan can be the person who is a go-between to help that. And there are a lot of countries in Africa also, or in Chinese data, Islamic countries, part of OIC, they can join the camp. Turkey will join. I doubt Malaysia will not join because Malaysia has reasons to be with India. So Turkey, Iran, China, Pakistan, and a few African countries, they can form a new bloc. So which will ensure China has a say in the Islamic world, and China also gets oil. Now, what is the Pakistan's second interest? Is Pakistan, we need to see, they have been always running on this anti-Hindu and anti-India venom in their blood. Because you have to do something good for you, your people. Instantly, you only you're the highest exporters of donkey and donkey here in the world today. And that is if you think you're going to run your economy where your Prime Minister fixes the price of roti and naan, where you think Germany and Japan have an industrial estate, and Pakistan has a lot of business in that. So if these are the people, or this is the state of people who is running the Pakistan, God save the Pakistan. That jealousy for India, that hatred for India is what has costed Pakistan into this. Because if you look at the world economy, you have to be a power, you have to be producing something, you have to be contributing something. Except terrorism, what is Pakistan contributing? Nothing. So this, and now Indian, you see, which are our brand ambassador? We need, our biggest brand ambassador is our diaspora. They work in whole of Middle East and they are doing well. They are law-abiding citizens. They don't get involved in terrorism, tax evasions, nothing like that. And they pay taxes, follow the rule of the law, and they're very loyal to their employees whom they work in. And within our changed foreign policy,
okay.
we are doing the outreach to the Arab world. And we are a secular country. We don't believe in this religion-based politics and all that. But at the same time, we are very, very subtle, Vineet. Now, the word Kashmir or K is our internal issue. Either do business with us or discuss Kashmir. You have an option, either business or Kashmir. And one last point, Vineet. I incidentally, when there are 56 Islamic countries in the world, and we seem to have no problems with that. So I don't think anybody's business is to bother is it a Hindu country or not. We are 85% of the population here is Hindus, and it is demographically known, though we are a secular country. But I don't think if somebody is pissed off with that, he should go and look at himself. Why are there 56 Islamic countries? Are you pissed off with them? Do you have problems with them? If you don't have problems with them, do not even think of having problems with us. We cannot go and change our religion or demographics, either of.
And unfortunately, we cannot even change our neighbor.
Yeah.
And that is a sad reality that we have to live with. But nevertheless, everyone, thank you for being a part of this debate.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.